First, I'd like to comment that I think this image was taken at Aberdeen Ordnance Museum at something called Tank Mile. I don't know if it was open to the public or not. And I've often wondered out loud on YouTube if anybody knew about this. And I haven't had much success. Now, I think this is the M6 heavy tank that Amy and I met on the Field of Steel, not on Tank Mile. And when it was on the Field of Steel, it was missing the tracks. But here, what I find fascinating is that she has tracks, the T1 tracks. Now, this is the only unique or single monolithic example of an M6 heavy tank in the United States. M6 heavy tank. Until the start of World War II, the USA had shown little interest in heavy tanks, one major reason being the difficulty of transporting them, especially overseas. However, the success of German armor and the obvious vulnerability and lack of firepower of the standard light and medium tanks led to a recommendation to develop a tank in the 50,000 kilogram or 50-ton class. Designed in 1940, the M6 heavy tank weighed almost 45 tons and was armed with a 76.2 millimeter 3-inch main gun plus a 37 millimeter 1.46 inch gun mounted coaxially. So here's the main gun, right? And that's the other one. That's a 37 millimeter. Which I never... kind of like the mouse concept. German mouse. And a total of 4 machine guns. A lot of machine guns. Its armor was up to 133 millimeters, or 5.24 inch thick, and it had a top speed of 35 kilometers per hour, or 22 miles per hour. When it appeared in 1942, it was the most powerful tank in the world. However, the armored force were not impressed with the new tank, and after testing concluded that it was too heavy. It did not have a large enough main armament and suffered from transmission problems. Some 40 vehicles were built, but they were only ever used for trial purposes. Left. This M6A2 heavy tank weighed 44.6 tons and was armed with a 76.2 millimeter 3-inch gun. Originally designed as the heavy counterpart to the M3, M4 mediums, and only 40 were ever built of all models, and it never saw operational service. Now, as I met this directly with Amy, and I would have to saddle up my own opinion, the guy here who's written this book may be off by about 10 or 20 tons. This was right next to a Sherman, a couple Shermans, and it looked much larger than the Shermans. And I'd say this was about 65 tons. I would go with that estimation by eyeball. Now for statistical data, United States of America, entered service 1942, crew 5, weight 44.6 tons, length 27 feet, height 10 feet, width 10 feet, armament 176.2 millimeter 3-inch gun and 137 millimeter 1.46 inch gun. Secondary machine guns. Armor maximum 133 millimeters or 5.24 inches. Power plant. This is a unique power plant. Wright Whirlwind G200 9-cylinder radial. I'd like to see that. Maybe they'll take it out for me and show it to me in my face at Virginia. Performance speed 22 miles per hour. Range 100 miles. That's not a bad tank. You can only dare to imagine what a battalion would have looked like under the command of Patton at the Ardennes. And roaring on toward Berlin with that. Fast. Now get a look at those tracks. This is going to be the only modern image you're going to see of them. And, you know, on this side, they look a little limp. That track looks awful limp. It doesn't look tight at all. So it's like they're having problems with the track. See, this is tight. This is a nice steel plate side. And this tapers from narrow to wide. And the turret is really huge. And I think they could mount a 100 or 120 millimeter on this. That's my opinion. That's the end of the production about the M6 heavy tank. Legend of Aberdeen.